Welcome everybody to our March ASTRO-CLEARING Circle. Valen and I have some extra pieces to share with you this evening, so I'm going to jump right in before she goes into her channeling, her channeled message, which I had to read it twice. I found it so uplifting, but also Zora's not usually quite so straightforward, so I was thrilled with that one. But before we get going, we're going to actually, before we even talk about that, let's just do a grounding exercise to be present. We had this wonderful coach with us in Inner Wisdom Circle last night who reminded us how valuable it is to be in our bodies. So we're just going to do that. So let's start by rubbing the fingertips and the thumb together for each hand. Just a gentle rubbing. And just bring your attention to that sensation. Be really gentle with yourself here. Folks are still coming in. So just noticing each fingertip. And then take both hands together and just rub them very gently, noticing the sensation of fingertip to fingertip and then fingertip to palm. Just slowly. And as you do this, take a nice deep breath in through your nose. And exhale through pursed lips really gently. And then again, in through the nose. And exhale, pursed lips. And on the third one, just place the hands in your lap or maybe hands on your thighs. You can do a little gentle touching of the quads, the top of the thighs, and wiggle your toes, really finding your feet, inhaling through the nose, exhale. Just really being here after whatever kind of day you've had. It's midweek, so could have been any kind of day. Could have been a super relaxing day, could have been a super busy day, could have been something in between, whatever it was for you, letting all that go. And I'm going to ask for implicit permission. I'll just wait for our person to join us here.
Sasha, do you want to make me co-host?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. And I can let people in for you.
Thanks for pointing that out. Good idea. There we go. So just asking for implicit permission from everyone for me to do energy clearing and rebalancing with you today. If you would prefer that I not include you, then please just either message me directly in the chat or just message the group chat. I won't call you out, and I will make a note you're not to be included. And if you have questions about what being included means, please feel free to send a note to me in the chat, and I will respond momentarily. So before we get started, a little bit of housekeeping. We wanted to share with you that though it felt far away when we set the date, suddenly it's March. March 29th turns out to be a really powerful day. Who knew? I guess we kind of did. And there's a wave of energy coming, amongst other things. It's also just after the equinox. And it is our manifestation circle that's part of our 4-circle series. It's part of the Mastering 2025 for Clarity and Contribution series that we're doing this year. It's the second one of these deeply supportive interconnected circles that we're offering. And the whole idea around manifesting our spiritual warrior is, yes, of course, having to do with external manifestation, but it starts with internal manifestation, which is why the subtitle is Reconnecting to the Innate Power Within. We're going to work with some energy around resiliency, because that's a really strong energy coming up for all of us this year. The circle includes grounding practices, a journey, energy work, as you will experience this evening, a really supportive outline for you to create a vision board for yourself for the year, And we do it during the period around the new astrological year. So it is around the equinox specifically, which this year packs a really powerful punch, which Valen will be talking about a little bit this tonight. And that time is highly supportive of our manifestation for the year. So if you have specific projects, if you have kind of general ideas, plans, kind of a vague sense of what some shifts, some change that you would like to make, we're going to work on some of that this evening. We're going to do a journey around the spiritual warrior this evening, which will give you a taste of what we'll be doing in the program, in the circle on March 29th. And I'll also stay after circle to give you a quick rundown of what we're up to in greater detail. And you can feel free to ask questions. Also watch your email because we're going to be sending you a coupon for registration for that. We also have in the house our own Valen Ridgway, certified astrologer and teacher of astrology. She's certified to teach. And that means that if you are interested in being an astrologer, you can take these courses and get certification from that. But this is really for beginners. This is for, I mean, I don't know. I'm not a beginner because I've really been doing this for decades. But honestly, these courses are so grounding. I'm excited because I'm going to jump into the STARS 2 class that starts tomorrow. But if you want the foundational pieces, part 1 starts on the 26th of March. It's Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. And Valen is an awesome, awesome teacher. I love her so much as a person, but also love her as a teacher. And those two things are not the same, right? Like you can really like someone and think they're an amazing person and love being with them, but they kind of suck as a teacher. But that's not true of Valen. She's a great teacher.
Oh,
so I just want to put that plug in. Do you have something specific that you want to talk about with regard to this, Valen?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that the beginning course isn't at all about being an astrologer. Well, really neither is the second part, but part 1 really is about really learning the language, which can give you lots of information into your own chart. And it's the grounding that you need to do any exploration through astrology. So that first part 1 is about getting you ready to explore and giving you enough information that you can know your own chart at a basic level, but you can really understand the signs and the planets and that. Not actually becoming an astrologer at that point. That would be much too ambitious. The only other piece that's not on this slide, something totally different, but I just didn't want to forget, and it came into my head. Next month, Sasha and I will be having the 5th anniversary of this circle, 5th year. I number each folder of each month, and we are at 60. So we're going to plan something exciting, something fun.
Yeah, super exciting. And my favorite month of the year. So for those of you that are newish to Circle or just returning after a long time away, Valen is also, among all of her various talents, because she's the graphic designer who creates all the beautiful slides that you're going to see tonight. She's also a channeler, and she channels a group called a soul collective called Zora, and they are just the most loving beings. And they often speak in non-grounded language, but always give some sense of kind of like practical direction or whatever. And I just found this particular message so direct, much more direct than usual. So I find this, to me, there's a tone change here. And I think we're going to note, if we go back, we'll notice that. And by the way, we post these in the library. So if you want to go back ever and review them, they're there. So
interesting observation. Okay. So, and I did actually reread this today because I'd done it a while ago, and it just kind of, it did have a different feel to it. So this is what came through for this particular circle. Greetings. You've all chosen to be here at this time to be part of the changes and the transformational healing that are occurring despite external evidence to the contrary. It is at this time that the light that shines from each and every one of you, the compassion that flows from each and every one of your hearts, and the gifts of knowingness that each of you are connected with are required for the evolution that is occurring now. Know that you have all prepared for this time, and the acknowledgement of your own uniqueness becomes part of this new expression of healing on your planet. Everyone's light is required now, for in the smallest acts of kindness to yourself and to others, that changes the trajectory of evolution and allows for a new understanding of what it means to be aligned to your soul. That knowledge in itself changes everything. You are guided, you are blessed, you are loved, and you are needed. Shine your light in any way you can.
Woo. Goosebumps. Okay, so let's just sit with that for a moment. And if there's anything that you want to reread for yourself or any particular piece of that message really struck you or hit home for you or resonated for you, just sitting with that.
Would it be okay if Lynn read it out to us again?
Of course. Yeah.
Beautiful
That would be
idea.
fine. Okay.
Love that. I'm always happy to listen.
Greetings. You have all chosen to be here at this time, to be part of the changes and the transformational healing that are occurring despite external evidence to the contrary. It is at this time that the light that shines from each and every one of you, the compassion that flows from each and every one of your hearts, and the gifts of knowingness that each of you are in connection with are required for the evolution that is occurring now. Know that you all have prepared for this time, and the acknowledgement of your own uniqueness becomes part of this new expression of healing on your planet. Everyone's light is required now, for the smallest acts of kindness to yourself and to others changes the trajectory of evolution and allows for a new understanding of what it means to be aligned to your soul. That knowledge in itself changes everything. You are guided, you are blessed, you are loved, and you are needed. Shine your light in any way you can.
Wow.
So, now I'm just thinking, part of that message is so appropriate for what the time that we're coming into. So I've titled this The Flow of Change because March is a pivotal month in a pivotal year. There's a lot of big dynamic changes that are happening, and there is still a flow. Certainly through a lot of March, there is still a lot of flowing energy. But we are beginning a new year. The spring equinox is an astrological new year, March 20th. The sun goes into Aries. Mercury and Venus are retrograde in Aries, and Neptune goes into Aries at the very end of March. So we've got this, right now we're still in a flow of Pisces energy, which is about compassion and creativity and our connection to spirit, our empathy, or our sense of ideals, what our visions are. Also, illusions, confusion, escapism, we can see that out in the world. And Aries, what we're moving to, is divine inspiration. It's a sense of I am, in quotation marks, I am. Initiating and passionate, it's energetic, it's courageous, it's pioneering and going off in the independent direction. It's also impulsive and impatient. It's a fiery sign. So we've got these two dominant energies this month. And what is occurring, which I'll go into detail in the different slides, is this ebb and flow between the two. So what's happening this month is we're shifting into the Aries energy. And so there's a bit of a flow back and forth. There's energies opening, beginning of an astrological new year. What cycles are we opening? And in that, in any cycle that opens, there are energies that are closing. So we're in a beginning and an ending time. And Aries is about taking action. So we're moving into time about taking action, but where that inner action needs to come from is from our own inner guidance. That is going to be critical for this whole year. And we are in the, just at this incredibly potent energetic point of that in March. It's a chance when we get a time to explore these new beginnings, these new cycles through our heart and our mind. It's the combination of heart and mind. They're going to be part of the guidance that leads us forward. And so over the course of this month and this energy that we're working with, it's so important to be intentional and to recognize what we are initiating for ourselves from within, from the inner guidance, from our inner knowing, from our intuition, how the universe is speaking to us. And the Aries part of that is aligned to who you are now, a true sense of self. And because we're shifting into these new cycles that are big new cycles, we also have to allow the space for the quietness and the grieving and the loss of what might be closing and what might be ending. It's all part of this month. And at the beginning of this month, there may not even be full clarity around what we are moving into. So to recognize that that too is part of our experience right now. And what do? We touch in. We get our guidance from there. And there's another piece that's really interesting is that in astrology, 0 Aries, the beginning of the new year, the beginning of the cycle of the zodiac, it's called the Aries point. And often things manifest externally in the world. If you were doing kind of mundane astrology, global astrology, things that happen on the Aries point manifest. They become really obvious. Well, for each of us, we're all going to have an experience of this activation of the Aries point in a big way. The Sun, Mercury, Venus, Neptune, all touching that 0 Aries point. So for each of us, we get to recognize that we can manifest, we can bring into reality for ourselves the dreams that we've been dreaming in. And we've been talking about this for a while over the circles. There's been so much Neptunian energy. And I have been saying you may not be clear of what's coming, but we're dreaming it in. And so there's a lot of Pisces energy still, but we're moving into the time where we're going to start to want to take action. And we want to take action through divine inspiration, through, what we have been dreaming in, or what even just we've been intuitively guided to, even if there's not clarity. So it's an incredible month. And it's the big changes that are 2025 are beginning now. So we all have to, drop into the excitement of the beginning and also the recognition of where there may be some endings.
So that was where I wanted to kind of jump in for a moment and have everybody take a moment for yourselves. And if it feels good and right for you, just putting your hand on your heart space, not necessarily on your physical heart, although if that feels good to you, please go ahead. Just putting your hand on your heart space and a little rub, a little gentle movement, rubbing the heart, being gentle with yourself, and just taking a moment to consider an ending or a closure that's either already come up for you this year or at the end of last year, but generally speaking this year, or that feels like it's coming up, that feels like it's impending. You may feel like you're right in the middle of it, and it doesn't necessarily need to be something difficult or sad or challenging. It can be something beautiful. It can be a marathon that you just finished running, or a project that you just completed, or whatever it is for you. something that's coming to a close, a natural close, something that you're maybe bringing to a close, something that's coming to an ending. And if it feels right for you, go ahead and put a word in the chat, just a reminder that I'm not going to say those words out loud or associate your name with them for the recording. And if you prefer to just send it to me as a personal message, please go ahead and do that. And I'm just going to rebalance you so that you're holding for this closure. So this is not something that's ending and you're fighting against it. This is something that you feel like, yeah, this is the deal, or it's already happened, right? There's an ending that's already occurred, and you're kind of struggling to integrate it, maybe having a little bit of a challenge with it, or there's an impending ending. And we're going to balance you to hold for it strongly so that you can say yes to this ending. That's going to require allowing yourself to grieve it in whatever way that is for you, whatever that looks like for you. It might be a short grief period, might be just an outburst, it might be a long, year-long grieving period, whatever it is for you. So just go ahead and put your word in the chat, as I said, to either the group or to me personally. And I'm going to balance you for that while Velen moves on to the next session.
So there's two key things that are happening right now. Venus is the planet of harmony, beauty, relationships, values, what pleases us, what makes us feel good, it's abundance. It can be people pleasing and superficial as a less productive expression. And Mercury, it's about communication, perceptive ideas, it's adaptability, curiosity, reasoning, thinking. Both of these planets are called personal planets. They play out, they move around quickly through the zodiac, and they play out in your personal life. People come to you, ideas come to you. It's kind of like a more of a day-to-day rather than big concepts and big themes. What's happening right now, well, both of them have already moved into Aries, and they're going retrograde. And so what happens is when any planet goes retrograde, it allows you to turn that energy inward. It allows you to consider what these energies mean. So there's a place of Aries moving forward. I've got an energy. I want to go. I'm passionate. I have a lot of energy. I want to move with it. And then it's retrograde. It's like, okay, what do we do with this? Well, turning this energy inward right now to recognize who you are now is a great way to use that energy. And it's to recognize that there's a lot of anticipation coming. And at the same time, we're getting this opportunity to reflect on what we are going to move forward as more planets move into Aries. So there's a piece about just being okay to embrace the anticipation, whatever is being birthed from within. At this moment in time, it doesn't necessarily mean external action. It's to recognize that there may be that bubbling up of excitement. And I was doing a reading not that long ago, and part of what came up was being guided by that anticipation, that excitement, that inspiration that bubbles up. That's a guide. That's literally guiding us forward. So there's a piece that's very Aries around that. So there's a place to just, even if you don't know what the steps are you want to take, there's just to embrace what excites you. And because both of these planets are retrograde, we get an opportunity to integrate because they slow down. Often they're moving so fast, it's hard to stay with them. So you get a chance to integrate what this new energy, what this Aries energy is for you. And I actually made a note that it's like these two personal planets are forerunners this year for the big planets that are shifting at the end of this month and in May. We're getting a taste of what it means to be Aries. So we get to revisit and reflect on relationships, Venus. What relationships have you outgrown now? What supports your personal growth? This is a perfect time to reconsider that and watch for changes within relationships. And that relationship can include yourself. So there's a place where, how are you valuing yourself? Can you rekindle a loving relationship with yourself in any way? What makes you happy? And to recognize, to follow that. And part of that is knowing what's important to you. This is also Venus. It's what do you value? Follow that. We're moving into a time, the pivotal time of 2025, where everything is changing. So what we want to do is find a way to change in the direction of what feels important, and through self-love, through self-understanding, recognizing the pieces that may need to be let go of to move forward. And the Mercury piece is the ideas and the perspective and the communication. And so there's a chance to look at what old stories you've told yourself. Now, to find the compassion in doing that, but this is a beautiful opportunity to, Aries being, this is I am, and it's I am now. How are we reflecting on the stories we tell ourselves that actually don't truly align to who we are now? And how can we release those with compassion, or reflect on them and learn from that? And because Aries is such an initiating energy, we get a chance at this time to re-examine Mercury of the mind, thinking about things, going back to what we want to initiate, what we think we are initiating, what we would like to initiate. This is a beautiful time to slow down, allow the mind to slow down, and to really be conscious and intentional about what we want to create in our life. And once again, because this is becoming such a pivotal month in this pivotal year, then it becomes more and more important to be intentional. So this is this retrograde time, this time of reflection, to me seems so important for allowing us to find our next steps and to do it aligned to who we are now. You know, not the past, not what we think we should be, but actually who we are, and to find the compassion to do that for ourselves. Sasha, did you want to mention any of the clearing that you've done?
I do. So I did a global rebalancing for our auric fields. Just to start off, we'll do some more work with that during the or around the journey. And for some of you, you were holding 100% for the grieving piece, the ending piece. For some of you, not 100%. So I cleared the trapped emotion of peeved, which is a kind of irritation. I also cleared taken for granted, which was also a trapped emotion. And I'm just checking in to see if there's any more. But before I do that, I wanted to just reiterate some pieces that Belen has just shared. And we're going to look at, related to this ending that you were speaking of a couple of moments ago, consider what you've outgrown. So this piece around revisiting relationships, what have you outgrown? How can you support your personal growth around things that may have shifted or changed for you? So the question is, what have you outgrown, or what is the thing that you feel like you're leaving behind with this completion, this ending? You know, some of you have said in your endings, they're creative pieces. I hope you don't mind me mentioning that there was a book written, a third book written, and that's come to a complete completion. That's a big project. We were just actually in a meeting with someone earlier who's just also finishing a book, and the editing process is grueling. So really hats off to those of you who are completing things that are projects, or where you know you're leaving, let's say, a location behind, or you're moving on in a particular kind of relationship, or anyone who you know, there are parts of when there's a death that occurs, for instance, there are parts of that death that we process over time. And so letting go of objects can be a big piece of the story. or letting go of a work relationship also can be a big one. So any forms or versions of that are showing up for you. For those of you that have just joined, what we did earlier was we looked at what piece that's coming up for us in this time is an ending or something that we're grieving or something that we're completing. And now what I'm asking for people to put in the chat, if it's appropriate for you, and you can put it to me as a personal message, it doesn't have to be to the group. What is it that you are, that you've outgrown? What is the thing that is maybe something that feels like it's a loss, but it's really a completion, right? That ending, it's like, you know what, I have to let go of this thing that I do. I'll just say for myself, this thing that I do where I put others first and I deplete myself in trying to people please or get approval, external approval from a person or the world, and deplete myself in the process. So that might be something that I am revisiting and that I would like to think that I've outgrown. And I will energy test myself to make sure that I have outgrown that. But if there's something here that you feel that you've outgrown, just putting that in the chat for us, and I will be clearing that for you. Just a word or a phrase, whatever works for you.
So there is a part of the big shifts of 2025 is the planet Neptune, the planet of mysticism, of spirituality, of creativity, of compassion, of intuition, of imagination. That planet is moving into the sign of Aries, that sign about, drive and passion and energy and initiating something, the beginning of the new cycle, the beginning of the zodiac. It is shifting into Aries for the first time since 1861. So this is part of this huge transformation that's occurring on our planet. This is just one piece of it. So Neptune being the planet of spirit and connection to source and our dreams, and Aries being that dynamic, passionate warrior energy. When we make the most positive use of that, it becomes a spiritual warrior. And when I was thinking about that, I realized there's a number of examples of people who've been born with Neptune in Aries. And one beautiful example for this is Gandhi. He was born with Neptune in Aries. So the compassion, the love, the connection to spiritual practice, and at the same time showing up in as a warrior for that. So this is true for all of us at this time. And so anyone who knows their chart, if you know what you have in the sign of Aries, and particularly the early degrees of Aries, to recognize that this may be something that becomes really directly impacting you, which whoever knows that, you can just have a look at your chart. But what's happening before it goes into Aries? So for almost all of March, until March 30th, it is at the very last degree of Pisces. So Neptune being the planet of dreams and spirit, and Pisces being the planet of no boundaries, connection to source, creativity, flow. When something's at the very end of a sign, at the 29th degree, it is drilling down. It's making this, it's intensifying. It's making this really important. In some senses, it's almost as if, the planet knows, oh, I'm about to leave a sign. I got to get everything done I want to do. So we've got this month where Neptune is at 29 degrees. And so it's a time to embrace this, the opportunity to connect to your dreams or your creativity, your compassion, your intuition, whatever it is, to just recognize that this is intensified right now. This is like an opening to spirit, to your dreams, and to make use of it in the best way you can. Just to know that that's happening. And those dreams are going to guide us into Aries. And it's like, well, what steps am I going to take to make these dreams real? So to recognize that at this point, that we are still, that Neptune energy is still in the dream time. And to also know that both Neptune and Pisces can be escapist, can be prone to disillusionment, can even have energy kind of watery, not there. So to know that this time there may be a feeling of uncertainty. So there may not be clarity, but there, at this point towards the end, this is a chance to feel into what you want to live out starting in 2025. What does that look like? What does it feel like? What inklings or intuition or dreams are you following? Just to be really aware of it, because this is guidance. And to have self-compassion for any uncertainty, because that is a Pisces energy can be very much around uncertainty. It can be very much about indecision, not having clarity. And to recognize that that void, that lack of clarity is the birth. It's where true potential can arise from. So to recognize for yourself, if right now you're sitting going, I don't actually fully know, I'm not totally clear, just to tap into the feeling of what you are being guided to, what information is flowing to you, and have the compassion and the patience in the uncertainty. And patience is challenging when anything's in Aries, and we've got Mercury and Venus in Aries right now, and Mercury's of the mind. So there may be ideas, ooh, I should be doing that. What's wrong with me? I don't have clarity. So just to recognize this is a time to really be in the compassion for yourself, and recognize that it still may not be the time to have full certainty of what the next step is. And Aries is courageous. And so we're being asked as we move through this month to know where we can step into our spiritual energy with courage. And it does take courage. There's times when just surrendering to spirit can be an act of courage. So to know that that's also being promoted, being supported at this time. And as the Aries is about taking action, what we want to do is to learn to connect to that inner guidance and find where we can trust it, because that's going to be the only thing that can direct our actions. What is going on with Neptune in the dream and the spirit, but possibly the illusion, and Aries, what's the next step I'm taking? You want to know that you personally are aligning to what you know to be true for you, and taking steps from that place. And as I was thinking about this today and looking at, trusting the inner guidance, recognize that in the external world, there may be actions being taken through illusion, through confusion, through uncertainty, through escapism. You may be seeing that in the outer world. You may at times, I'm not certain, I better take a step. You may find yourself in that too. So what we want to come back to, knowing this information, knowing the astrology, knowing the energies of the time, is to connect to the inner guidance and your heart and your intuition, and to take your steps from that place. And the other piece that is, I think it's part of the courage, it's part of the action, but Neptune is at the highest level, is about the higher frequencies of love, gratitude, compassion. And we are stepping into zero Aries. Hasn't happened, for 164 years. We're creating a new cycle now. And so what do we want that new cycle to look like? Well, we want to create it through the higher frequencies of love and compassion and gratitude. That is almost an antidote to the uncertainty and the disillusionment and the illusion. So to recognize that's a choice that we can make to counteract the external world. We drop into that place in ourselves. And we want to connect to that expanded consciousness, because then we're going to align to our true sense of self, the I am, and that's the Aries piece. So we allow Neptune, the spiritual, to find its expression through our sense of this is who I am now. So important. And sort of along the same idea of clarity comes from within. So That's where we have to go when uncertainty is out in the world. And we all know we're living in a very uncertain world in whatever reality we find. And the other piece of that, Mars is the ruler of Aries, and it wants to cut things out. It wants to defend things. And so there's a piece here about, as we're dreaming in what this future looks like, what this new cycle is for us, we may have to have the courage to stand up and protect our dreams, because there may be outer forces that are contrary to what we need to do for ourselves. So all of that comes from that trusting our inner guidance of what's right for us. So it's a potent time. It's part of this new cycle that's beginning right now. And we want to be as conscious and intentional as we can to align to what's right for us. Our own personal inner path is beginning to be manifest in this incredible year of 2025. And to go to that back to the beginning, it may not be yet fully formed. It may be a feeling, oh, I want to do that, but I can't yet. All that retrograde energy, I can't quite do it yet. And to just have compassion for that, because that is part of the energy as well. There's a lovely adjustment period, it feels like, in 2025 in general, and even in March, as we lead into these new energies. And that picture of the heart that I found just makes me so happy, because the Neptune is of the sea and the Aries is fire, and we've got this heart coming out. We lead from the heart.
Beautiful.
So
all the Leos in the space are smiling, I can tell. So I just wanted to bring us back to the pieces that we've been working with for the last little while. Your own energy, where you've been sharing the piece that you've outgrown. And the energy that came up to rebalance, is I am grateful. I am grateful. That's for everybody. And also to reconnect with optimism. Reconnect with optimism. And so along those lines, just taking into consideration what Valen has shared with you, start to contemplate an aspect of your own inner spiritual warrior. What is that for you? You have many qualities of the spiritual warrior, but I'm just asking you to connect with one aspect of your own inner spiritual warrior. And it might be a sense of dedication. It might be compassion. It might be your dedication to truth. It might be your inner resilience or your adaptability. Whatever it is, and it might be something else. Whatever it is, just take that into consideration and put that in the chat if you're willing to do that, or write it down for yourself, or just make a note of it. And what I'm going to do while Valen shares her final slide with you, it came up for me to look at the energy of imposter syndrome and how that might be sneaking in for us. Because we've been using the word spiritual warrior, and it sounds so lofty, and it can be so easy to get caught up in the lingo and think, oh, that's not me, that's somebody else. Or, oh, I don't have any of those. Maybe I have one quality, but I certainly don't have more than one. Or maybe you're struggling to even think of one quality that you associate with yourself. And yet, if I had a go at you, I could probably come up with a number of them for each one of you. But that's not the job here. The job is for you to find it for yourself. So I'm going to encourage you to do that. And in the meanwhile, in the background, just so you know, I'm going to be looking at a couple of common emotions of imposter syndrome. One being the stress that comes up around feeling like, oh my God, now I have to be on top of everything else, on top of all the craziness. I have to also be a spiritual warrior. Yikes. So there's a level of stress that comes up, and also perhaps a level of shame, a little bit of shame, like, oh, I can't reach that. And so there's that not enoughness that comes up in all of us. And so I feel a little bit ashamed that I can't be all that I want to be, or all that I believe other people are being, or, oh, I'm being called to something that I can't achieve. So if any of that is coming up for you in any way, shape, or form, I'm going to be clearing and rebalancing you for that. And if there's something specific that you would like me to address and you'd like to put that in a personal chat to me, please go ahead and do that.
So, because this is such a big month, and I've made some points here around things. There's other big changing pieces that are happening in this month, but they're encompassed in what I've already talked about. The most important part is to let your heart be your guide. And actually, I'm going to address what Sasha just said about the spiritual warrior. And the spiritual warrior is the person who just shows up with a kind heart. That's it. It actually doesn't have to be more than that. I used Gandhi as an example because it's a very famous example where there's an obvious expression of Neptune in Aries. But for us in our day-to-day life, it's how do we show up with courage to be ourselves with an open heart? Super simple. Not simple to do, but simple in concept. So part of the energy with that Mercury and Venus being the forerunners, stepping into Aries force and then turning that energy inward is a chance to be intentional about what you're creating for yourself. Beautiful time to do that in the next couple of weeks. And to also have patience, because Aries can get impatient, impulsive, to have patience for the new energy that's unfolding. We've got 2 eclipses in this month, which is a lot. And these planets in retrograde are this place where there may be a sense of change and action. And to know that that is unfolding, but it may not be unfolding externally. It's just a place to take that inside and to have patience with yourself. And the other piece that as we move into this Aries energy, and particularly as Neptune moves into Aries at the end of the month, we want to move forward with purpose, guided by our dreams, our ideals, our compassion, our intuition, our creativity. Allow that to be our guide and to use that to purposefully move forward. Once again, even if it's a small step, I'm just thinking, creative courage could be staring at a blank canvas that you've wanted to put that first stroke on, you just haven't been able to do it. Or if it's writing, taking that page and making that first sentence. These do not have to be big things. But this is the energy that we're moving into, finding that place in yourself to follow those dreams. And we are at a time where there may be big changes, both externally and internally. And sometimes it requires courage and to trust that our inner guides will, when we are connected, there can be grace. We can ask for grace. That is part of the connection to spirit. We can ask for guidance. We can ask for grace. We can ask for an unfolding that supports us to be the best that we can be. So that also is part of this energy that's coming up. And we talked last month about the planet Mars being in Cancer. So Mars, action, drive, the self, and Cancer, nurturing. Well, it was retrograde at that time. Last month, there was a time to reflect on our own self-care. Mars is now direct. So now it's nurture yourself through active self-care. Make a point of recognizing what you need to nurture yourself, what you need to feel safe, how you're going to take care of yourself the best way you can, mind, body, spirit, at this time of incredible change in energy. This is all energetic shifts. It may manifest externally for you, but it is the energy that we're playing in right now. So, with all of this is going on, and all of the uncertainty that we see in the external world, it comes down to really simple: take action from your heart. Doesn't have to be a big action. If all of us purposefully took action from our heart center every day, every time we think about it, whatever we can do, that in itself changes the world. So there's a place here that goes back to the what Zora had said. It just feels so important at this time because action may be taken in the external world through confusion, through uncertainty, through untruths. And what we want to do to counteract that is know in our heart what is the right action for each of us to take for ourselves. It's only, no one else can do this for us. So I think that's the note I'll leave that on.
Beautiful. Love that. Thank you, Velen. Okay, so I just sent a note to everybody, just letting you know that for the imposter syndrome piece around your spiritual warrior element or aspect for yourself, we cleared the stress of I don't have enough to succeed. So I don't have enough, fill in the blank, whatever it is, to succeed. So we're going to move on now to our journey, and we're going to start. Ellen, I'm just going to mute you, honey.
I'm doing it.
Whoop, whoop. That was a double mute. Okay, so let's just take a moment, hand on the belly, both hands on the belly if that feels good to you. And we're going to connect in with our Earth star. So about 6 inches below your feet in the ground. Just bringing your attention, your visualization, your noticing to below your feet. Now your auric field, which we were working with earlier, your auric field extends further than 6 inches below you. It can be up to 3 feet below you. And if you've ever dug a hole that's 3 feet deep, you know that's pretty far down. So really getting a sense of the edge of your auric field down there below your feet and connecting in with that Earth star that is about 6 inches below you. That sense of light in the earth, just like some ways, just like the image that we're seeing here, all of that light. And you can see that the figure is part of the earth space that she's in, just like you. You're not separate. You're not actually walking on the surface of the planet. You are walking with the planet. The energy is always intermingling. You're always part of, you always belong. So as you breathe in and out through the nose, just gently soften, 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 and allow yourself to receive all of the gifts, all of the energy, all of the life force that's being offered to you every moment of every day from Grandmother Earth to you. So with every inhale, invite that in, draw it up through the legs into the belly where your hand is. Feel the gentleness of hand on belly. You can rub a little bit, just as we did with the heart at the beginning of this evening, just rubbing a little bit on the belly, feeling the sense of hand on belly, belly on hand, breathing into that space and inviting that earth energy to draw itself up and up and up into the belly and pass the belly into the heart, and bringing one hand, leaving one hand on the belly and bringing the other hand to the heart. So bringing ourselves back to heart awareness, the fullness of being in our heart. And of course, that's what it means to be a spiritual warrior, is to be in the heart. Acknowledging the heart space, acknowledging the energy that's coming from the light beneath our feet, the earth, our earth star, acknowledging the life force energy that is inviting itself up into the body and expanding the heart space. And then bringing both hands to the heart, fingertips together, thumbs pressed against the heart space, and just breathing into the hands and into the heart. Still feeling that connection, knowing that connection is true, being one with the earth, inviting the energy up through the belly into the heart. With each exhalation, allowing that energy to disperse itself through the body. Feeling your breath getting wide, long. Feeling yourself fully seated, the tail dropping toward the earth, the shoulders dropping toward the earth, the back of the neck elongating. And when you're ready on your next inhale, you're just going to lift your hands up toward that point above the head. Opening up the hands and feeling a sense of the auric field as you extend your arms out, knowing that your aura extends beyond where your hands are. And then bring the hands back gently in front of you. Inhale. Exhale with hands in front of you, delineating that auric field in front of you. And now as you inhale, bring that energy back to the heart. Just inviting it back to the heart. So from the auric field back to the heart. Inhaling and exhaling however many times feels right for you here. When you're ready, bringing hands back to that prayer position. Inhaling, lifting, extending, expanding out to that star above your head. Reaching the hands out, extending them out. Feeling the edges of your aura, or even knowing that your aura extends well beyond the hands. The hands might be getting quite warm now. Inhaling as you bring your hands back together. Feeling the edges of the aura. Just gentle here. You can go as slowly, as quickly as you like. And then exhale here. And when you're ready, inhale, bringing the hands back in, bringing all of that auric field energy back into the heart. So just reminding yourself that everything that you're working within is a cycle. The planets are a cycle. The rotation of the earth around the sun, the rotation of the moon around the earth, all of the planets circling around, and all of our movement through the galaxy. Remember that our star is not fixed. It's moving through the galaxy and we're following it. And so much movement, just reminding ourselves of that as we connect back into the earth, remembering with our attention, of course, we're always connected to the earth, with our attention connecting back into the earth, inviting that energy up into the belly, up into the heart. Bringing the hands to the heart one last time, and then exhaling up and out. Bringing the hands again together in front, feeling the edges of that auric field. And that final inhale, drawing that energy back into the heart. And just noticing the sensations in the body. Feeling gently present to yourself. If you're having trouble being present to yourself, allowing one hand, keep one hand on the heart, allow one hand to just rest on the thigh, maybe a gentle stroking. Everything's fine, everything's good. Being present to yourself, moving further and further within you into that central point, that central spark within. Feeling safe in your body. And from this place of safety within you, knowing that everything's fine, no matter what's happening outside, everything is okay right here, right now, in this moment. Just being fully present to yourself, to your body. Moving at the speed of this three-dimensional being that is your body, that carries you through the world. And bringing your attention back to that aspect of spiritual warrior that you made a note of earlier. Whatever aspect it is for you, and if it's changed, that's okay. Bringing your awareness, your memory, your focus back to that aspect, and noticing if there's any not enoughness that's lingering there, if there's anything that you need to forgive yourself for. Perhaps you need to forgive yourself for being too much in the world, too loud, too hard-headed, too opinionated, or maybe not speaking your truth, not being honest, or maybe being too forthright, too honest, or maybe not being gentle and loving enough with yourself, giving all that love and attention, care and nurturing to others, but not leaving, only allowing maybe yourself a few crumbs. Forgive yourself for that now. Whatever piece of self-forgiveness you feel deeply is needed in this moment, maybe staying too long or leaving too quickly. Maybe not giving yourself the time and space you really needed for your creative endeavor, whatever that is. Shortchanging yourself. Maybe just forgiving yourself for being human this time around. Whatever it is, just be present to it and forgive yourself as you rub your heart gently. Just say to yourself quietly, it's okay. You did the best you could. Let's remind ourselves of Zora's message. You are blessed. You are needed. And you are loved. Just sitting with that energy as we wrap up tonight's circle. Well, that's it for us for this evening. Another circle completed. We are coming up on our 60th circle next month, so we'll be doing a special celebration circle in April. Until then, remember that we have our 4-circle series, the second coming up, Manifesting Our Spiritual Warrior, on Saturday, March 29th. Watch your email for a special code, or I guess a coupon code that you can use to get a discount on registration. And we hope to see you all again soon.